Candle Hash, the cemetery keeper's lantern. It was said that no one in Black Hollow ever visited the graveyard after midnight. The villagers whispered of the old cemetery keeper, a hunched man with a lantern that glowed green instead of yellow. They said if you saw him, you should run and never look back, because his lantern did not light the way for the living. It lit the path for the dead. When 17-year-old Michael moved into his aunt's house in Black Hollow, he didn't believe in ghost stories. He was a city kid, used to cars and neon lights, not crumbling gravestones and eerie silence. His aunt warned him never to take the shortcut through the cemetery at night, but of course, the very first week he did exactly that. It was a cold autumn night, the moon hidden behind heavy clouds. Michael's shoes crunched on the gravel path as he walked among rows of crooked gravestones. The trees were skeletal, their branches reaching like claws. As he passed the center of the graveyard, he saw it, the lantern. A pale green glow bobbing in the distance. At first, he thought it was just some old groundskeeper. But then he realized the lantern wasn't held like a normal lamp. It floated in the air, swaying side to side as though beckoning him closer. Michael froze. His aunt's warnings rushed back to him. He turned to leave, but the path behind him seemed longer, darker. The lantern was closer now, the glow casting shadows that stretched unnaturally across the graves. Then he saw him, the cemetery keeper. A hunched figure in a black coat, his face obscured by shadows. The lantern swung from his bony hand, its flame flickering green. And when Michael finally glimpsed his face, his stomach dropped. There were no eyes. Only hollow sockets glowing faintly with the same green light. Michael ran. The grave seemed to shift around him, the paths twisting into endless loops. The air grew colder, and with each step, he heard whispers rising from the soil. He tripped and fell against a tombstone, only to realize it bore his own name, freshly carved, the date of death empty. His breath caught. The lantern light flared behind him. He scrambled to his feet and bolted, not daring to look back. He burst out of the cemetery gate and collapsed on the road. When he looked up, the lantern glow was still there, hovering at the gate like a watching eye. Michael told himself it had to be a hallucination, fear playing tricks. But when he got home, his aunt's face went pale at the sight of him. "You saw the lantern, didn't you?" she whispered. When he nodded, she locked all the doors and prayed under her breath. That night, Michael couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the cemetery keeper's eyeless socket staring at him. At midnight, he heard something outside his window, the faint scrape of metal against glass. When he pulled the curtain, his blood froze. The lantern was hovering just outside, its green flame burning brighter, reflecting in his terrified eyes. From that night onward, the haunting escalated. Every evening, he heard footsteps in the hallway, though his aunt was asleep. He found dirt on his bedsheets, as if someone had lain there before him. One morning, he woke with soil under his fingernails and a cemetery flower in his hand. He realized the lantern wasn't just following him. It was pulling him closer to the graveyard, binding him to it. Desperate, Michael sought help from the town's priest, Father Elias, who was rumored to know the cemetery's dark secret. The priest told him the truth. The keeper had once been a man named Jonah Crow, condemned for grave robbery a century ago. The villagers hanged him at the gates, but before he died, he swore he would never leave the dead he had disturbed. His soul fused with his lantern, and now he wandered, seeking the living to take their place beneath the earth. Father Elias gave Michael a charm of iron and salt, warning him never to step foot in the cemetery again. For a while, it worked. The lantern's glow stayed at the edge of the graveyard. But one stormy night, Michael heard a knock at the door. When he opened it, no one stood there, only the lantern, sitting on the porch, its flame hissing in the rain. That was when Michael understood there was no escaping. The lantern had chosen him. The next morning, his aunt awoke to an empty bed. She searched everywhere, but Michael was gone. At dusk, she ventured toward the cemetery, and her heart broke when she saw it. A new gravestone stood at the edge of the path. Freshly carved. It bore Michael's name. And beside it, the cemetery keeper stood silently, lantern glowing green, his eyeless face turned toward the village as if searching for the next soul.